According to Mr. Bekele Galata, Secretary General of ERCS, in recent years, three major developments are identified about international aid in Africa. One is the success in key health indicators, mainly malaria, HIV/AIDS, and child mortality, mostly the outcome of international funding. The second trend is that aid has been challenged for the awkward effect it may cause on building feasible and responsible institutions. The third development is that, notwithstanding of the impact of aid, the region is supported with new confidence and stronger governments. New international relationships, entrepreneurship, and private investment are fairly reducing cultures of aid dependency. A huge network of humanitarian institutions in the region, the African Red Cross and Red Crescent Societies, deliberates on various humanitarian issues in a forum held in Addis Ababa from October 19 to 21, 2012, under the theme Investing in Africa. The conference believed to promote major changes in the nature and the feature of aid architecture. Financing of African aid organizations, focusing on partnership with government, regional entities, private sector actors, and local communities with improved financial and institutional accountability, is the first move. The second shift is consolidating country-level management and ownership of international aid and development. Moreover, a third shift to look at includes non-emergency aid, that is investment for sustainable national development. Mr. Bekele further explained that for the possible future urgent humanitarian needs, much of Africa will need immediate international support. However, immediate interventions should not be done in the expense of long-term plans. The long-term plan should be geared toward supporting institutions able to sustain national development and humanitarian action autonomously. In the long run, institutions require more investment and less aid to thrive. After the 7th Pan-African Conference held in the Republic of South Africa, as well as the ERCS Governing Board selected ERCS to host the 8th Pan-African Conference. The National Society assumed the responsibility to render impeccable service for the participants with successful preparation and completion of the forum. Coming together every 4 years, the conference serves a unique forum for Red Cross, Red Crescent leaders for across the continent to deliberate on humanitarian and development challenges of Africa, to exchange ideas and experiences, and to formulate a way forward for years to come. PAC 2012 takes place with the leading theme Investing in Africa. Economic growth and private sector investment in Africa are changing the traditional model of foreign aid dependency. Leaders of Red Cross, Red Crescent societies are expected to work jointly in the forefront, driving towards developing healthy and self-sustainable business model designed and owned by Africans. This conference is also an opportunity to discuss and debate many critical issues challenging the movement. Representatives of users across Africa met for a day of use conference that included pertinent discourses, exchange of cross-border innovative ideas, and urged the Red Cross, Red Crescent to engage the youth at high-level decision-making. During a decision with partners, the World Economic Forum stressed that people invest in what they believe in. Representatives took this note, saying that users must first believe in their capabilities so that they can fully invest in themselves. Vice President of the International Federation of Red Cross and Red Crescent Societies in Africa, Paul Birech, briefed journalists during the launching of the 8th Pan-African Conference. Secretary General of the Ethiopian Red Cross Society, Frewot Worku, also informed journalists about the conference preparations and explained that foreign participants are expected to design a way forward on how to invest in humanitarian and developmental activities throughout the region. Delegates of the Youth Commission, Geoffrey Korir and Salimata Konan, has also clarified about how investing in the future means investing in youth. Participants of the conference were cordially invited on Friday evening to celebrate Addis Ababa City's 125th anniversary at a special dinner reception hosted by the mayor of Addis Ababa. Over 600 Red Cross Red Crescent leaders, youth and volunteers had joined the party. During the reception, the mayor, through his representative, officially welcomed conference participants.
As the Speaker of the City Council of Addis Ababa, and on behalf of the City Mayor, I convey the warm greetings and best wishes of the residents of the city. Once again, I am sincerely grateful to the societies for selecting Addis Ababa to be the venue for the 8th ordinary session of the Pan-African Conference.
President of the Ethiopian Red Cross Society, Ato Daniel Tagano, on behalf of PAC, acknowledged the mayor's effort for their hospitality and congratulated them on their 125th anniversary. He noted with humor that most participants would be tired at the age of 125, but not the city of Addis Ababa.
I would like to sincerely thank for the gift you have given me and for the Addis Ababa City Council for hosting this conference. Thank you very much.
The 8th Pan-African Conference launched with a vibrant start embarrassing a choir of children's songs, prompting conference participants that investing in Africa also means empowering the youth.
The theme of the conference is to invest in Africa, strengthen leadership and program in Africa, create a stable future in Africa, invest in the youth who are the future hope of Africa. Africa rises to the challenge to get ready to receive and pass the support to the communities and invest in them. Build trust among ourselves and create strong partnership with communities, government and business sectors.
Le thème de la conférence est investir en Afrique. Approfondir le programme en Afrique, créer une future stable en Afrique, investir dans la jeunesse qui sont la future de l'Afrique. L'Afrique accepte la demande et se prépare de passer le support pour les communautés et investir dans la communauté. Créer la dépendance entre nous et créer un lien entre la communauté, gouvernement et le secteur business.
Participants and partners, welcome to Ethiopia, welcome to our conference. A special thanks to participants. Kay meskelina jareka, yeseri diga jareka. 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 Kay meskelina
inaugural song, Prime Minister of the Federal Democratic Republic of Ethiopia, Haile Mariam Desalegn, officially opened the conference. In his remarks, Prime Minister Haile Mariam Desalegn applauded African national societies for their work in building resilient communities and noted his support for the Red Cross, Red Crescent humanitarian priorities.
Broad partnership between governments, civil society organizations, and the private sector is indeed needed to tackle humanitarian challenges. I now declare that the workshop is officially open. I thank you.
In order for the Red Cross and Red Crescent societies in the continent to become more self-sustaining, the IFRC has signed memorandums of understanding with the Permanent Interstate Committee for Drought Control in the Sahel, CILSS, and the United Nations Economic Commission for Africa, ECA. Their partnership will be focusing on promoting economic and social development of Africa, particularly on several initiatives including climate change and disaster risk reduction, poverty reduction, food security, and health care. Secretary General of the IFRC, Mr. Bakala Galata, said, the second day has shown delegates deliberating on humanitarian diplomacy. Former IOM Deputy Director General Ms. Ndioro Ndiaye noted that auxiliary role of Red Cross, Red Crescent societies is unclear to most African governments. To resolve such confusions, it will be imperative for national societies to make joint conversations with their respective governments for better support. Ms. Ndiaye concentrated on investing in Africa during the plenary and the determinants of investment in the humanitarian and development area, particularly on regional trends and problems. In a commission on the importance of integrated approach to building community resilience, Deputy Director General of the Ethiopian Authority of Environmental Protection, Dr. Desalegn Mesfin, said that,
ladies and gentlemen, we all want a good life for our children, their children, and all following generations. For this scenario to happen, the future of following generations must include not only of us humans, but also all other forms of life.
Improving infrastructure, deploying green technologies, and developing new skills while promoting indigenous knowledge are but a few examples presented. The other group on climate change that include panelists from Kenya, Burundi, and the Gambia underlined the significance of building a resilient society through disaster risk reduction interventions that can safeguard community livelihoods. Delegates approved that national societies and respective communities must invest more in prevention than emergency interventions while undertaking strategic partnerships, such as in scientific research, would also be vital. Participants from Ethiopia, Madagascar, Somalia, Egypt, Chad, Lesotho, and Comoros made suggestions like investing in a manner that better integrate movement activities and lobbying politicians by showing them Red Cross, Red Crescent efforts on the spot. Delegates from the national societies came to consensus that transparency, accountability, leadership, and governance would help improve execution of programs in health, water, sanitation, and food security areas. The ICRC also took part in the conference with a presentation about the committee's Health Care in Danger campaign intended to create awareness about health facilities being attacked during conflict and further about volunteers being killed. In this regard, more than 153 incidents against humanitarian medical missions were reported in 2012 alone, whereby those most affected being local volunteers and community members. Finn Jarl Road, IFRC Eastern African Regional Representative, during the introduction of an advocacy report on investing in national societies, volunteers, and partnerships, on the other hand, noted that there is substantial investment potential to tackle the roots of vulnerability and build community resilience in the region. Frewot Worko, the Secretary General of the Ethiopian Red Cross Society, noted that when the Red Cross-Red Crescent partnerships will eventually have a positive multiplier effect. Afterwards, delegates agreed that national societies have a vital role to play in creating fruitful long-term partners investing for sustainable development in East Africa. Third day started discussing on partnership investment. Various presentations from the national societies stressed the need to share information and develop operational alliances. Delegates also stated that transparency and accountability with partners and safeguarding the unique identity and image of the movement in all partnerships is highly imperative. Successful partnerships supported with humanitarian diplomacy as enabler tool was also one of the focus areas of discussion. Titus Makosha, Botswana Red Cross Deputy Secretary General, explained, humanitarian diplomacy in Sierra Leone emphasizes that international disaster response law has reinforced the auxiliary role of the national society. They rendered consultation service to the government on how to build up its legal preparedness for international disaster response. Furthermore, they have passed the Sierra Leone Red Cross Act that clearly defines the national society's auxiliary role. In the other group, delegates deliberated on capacity building as a vital component of partnership investments. They approved that build capacity is highly decisive in helping national societies for real transformation in the future. Participants also identified possible challenges to capacity building that require to be resolved, such as establishing dependable financial and accounting systems, developing significant partnerships that consider transparency, adaptability in the ever-changing global condition, and appealing factors for both parties. Delegates also appreciated an observer from the South Sudan Red Cross that advised national societies to tackle corruption while building their capacities. Dr. Jocelyn Salmon, IFRC Vice President for Africa, said on opening the other group's deliberation on violence prevention. Furthermore, Dr. Salomon urged Red Cross, Red Crescent national societies to develop and put in place country-wide and regional violence prevention strategies and methodologies. Delegates from the other working group emphasize on promotion and advocacy for protection and supporting minorities. The group raised issues such as xenophobia, forced marriage, child soldiers, and sexual violence, and the possible responses and interventions to the needs of such groups. ERCS is currently working directly with the Ministry of Women, Children, and Youth Affairs. Other national societies, on the other hand, issued laws that protect women and children. The Burkinabe Red Cross has a program focusing on community discussions and presentations to create awareness on citizens about preventing abuse among women and children and its significance. Delegates finally came to consensus that humanitarian diplomacy with governments, partnerships with the private sector, engaging with mass media, recruiting celebrity supporters, and providing trainings in schools are but a few key tools in promoting minority groups. Possible actions to be taken suggested by participants include encouraging governments to review the laws on migration and human trafficking, developing databases on migration and human trafficking, and developing a standard practice of monitoring and evaluation activities, among others. They also indicated the contribution of formal education schools with children as young as 8, empowering and engaging the youth in decision-making, networking, and knowledge sharing, and supporting the IFRC's use as agents of behavioral change initiative. After the wrap-up of the third day session, delegates were hosted by Ethiopian Red Cross Society at an exciting and vibrant evening, having traditional dance, music, and cultural food.
I'm very happy to have you here, everybody, to host you in this cultural evening. I also want to just recognize that the Minister of Health has sponsored this evening on behalf of Ethiopian Red Cross. Unfortunately, he could not be here with us. Thank you. Welcome, everyone.
During the cultural night, IFRC President Mr. Tadateru Konoi and the delegation from the Kenya Red Cross presented gifts to the President of the Ethiopian Red Cross Society, Mr. Daniel Taganu, as proofs of appreciation to the leadership and hospitality of the National Society in successfully organizing the 8th Pan-African Conference.
Thank you very much.
On the final day of the conference, youth representatives discussed on a few of the major challenges to Africa. Youth representatives of the Red Cross, Red Crescent national societies of the conference identified climate change, conflicts, poverty, and diseases as the main bottlenecks that challenge Africans and the African continent. In order to solve such problems, Red Cross, Red Crescent youth volunteers urged the national societies to support innovative ideas and creative work initiatives by the youth in their respective country. They further assisted the IFRC and the national societies to help strengthen African youth network and regional youth networks of Red Cross, Red Crescent. Delegates of the Red Cross, Red Crescent national societies of Africa finally summoned to endorse outcomes of the conference entitled Investing in Africa, Addis Ababa Plan of Action. The major objective of which is opening up African national societies to more domestic, regional and international investment to enable a scale-up of sustainable volunteer action across Africa. In order to realize the Addis Plan of Action, 10 key themes were pinpointed. Moreover, 7 key indicators were put together to evaluate the progress of the action plan over the upcoming 4 years. Afterwards, leaders of the Red Cross, Red Crescent decided to produce country-level reports on the implementation of the Addis Ababa Plan of Action by 2016. In line with the outcomes of the 8th Pan-African Conference, the closing press conference requested for huge support and more investment to the development of Africa. Addressed by Alassane Senghore, IFRC Director Africa Zone, and Frewot Worku, Secretary General of the Ethiopian Red Cross Society, both urged African Red Cross, Red Crescent national societies to depend less on traditional forms of funding and instead take ownership of their own destinies.
If we look at today, the environment is changing rapidly. Economic crisis in Europe, economic growth in Africa, poverty increasing, and we ask ourselves as humanitarian organization, what is the impact of humanitarian growth in Africa on the most vulnerable communities? And that's why it was important that national society reflect in terms of looking at themselves within the environment and to review how they do business. For sure, it is not business as usual, but we needed also to take the bull by the horn as Africans, Africa for Africans, to take charge of their destiny and to their work in Africa.
In interviews to the media, Mrs. Frewot Worku also stressed calling upon national societies to invest in strategic partnership with the private sector, among others.
They have the resources, we have the network, so we can collaborate and do a lot of work here with them. That's the local investment that comes in. But even locally, currently Ethiopia is flourishing economically, and we have some local, real national investors also. We didn't engage them enough. We can engage them and interest them in working in humanitarian work, in engaging them as part of their services to the community.
The conference officially closed with a ceremony featuring farewell statements from the IFRC, the Ethiopian Red Cross Society, and the government of Ethiopia, as well as a salute to the conference volunteers. IFRC Secretary General Bekele Galata stressed that for the first time in history, the number of Africans living below the poverty line has fallen below 50%. He also defied the Red Cross Red Crescent to fit with the ever-changing and dynamic global condition and to nurture intergenerational leadership, combining the energy and entrepreneurial skills of the youth with senior leadership experiences across the Red Cross Red Crescent network.
Dear friends, as this conference comes to a close, I thank the government of the Federal Democratic Republic of Ethiopia for its full support over the years. I conclude by thanking the Ethiopian Red Cross Society leadership, staff, and volunteers, especially the youth volunteers, for hosting this conference.
The Ethiopian Red Cross thanked the more than 80 volunteers that supported the making of the 8th Pan-African Conference and the gracious hosting of more than 500 visiting delegates. Dr. Kasata Brahana Admasu, representing the government of Ethiopia, commended leaders of the Red Cross Red Crescent for their continuous humanitarian work and contribution to the development of Africa. He officially closed the conference by declaring,
I am grateful to all participating national societies who have traveled a long way to be here in Addis and made precious contribution to the success of this 8th Pan-African Conference. And it is my sincere hope that the resolutions of this conference will open new horizons for the Red Cross and Red Crescent societies in Africa. Thank you very much.
Over the years, the PAC has met every 4 years in different regions of the continent, with the most recent being Kampala 1996, Burkina Faso 2000, Algeria 2004, and the Republic of South Africa 2008.